a world where nuclear war has begun, vampires fought back in super real 3D.
As you guys know, Hollywood is on strike. I've got Rough Cut Productions, that's my video company. It's pretty much a one-man band. I bring on additional shooters to help me pull off productions when I need to, but for the most part, I'm filming a lot, editing a lot, you know, even coming up with the marketing ideas and interviews and everything solo. And this doesn't directly affect me per se. However, it does in this respect. I have been working on this personal project for multiple years called Cue the Muses, and I've mentioned this a few times on this channel.
So much laughter and happiness, an eternity to reminisce, your mind deciding what will exist. But when you are dreaming, thoughts become reality.
And this is a very odd concoction. We are a rock band, and we made a sci-fi comedy, a scripted sci-fi comedy show, and within each episode unveils a new music video, a new song off of the unreleased rock album.
It was mint when I left it with you.
Come on. You know what, we're kind of getting sidetracked, man. There's only so much time for frequency absorption. We need to hop on it. Can you fire up the cadence tubes?
Yeah.
And I'll go ahead and get my shoes tied.
Okay.
Point is that we've been making this show and we're trying to get some exposure for it, and the goal is to eventually, you know, hopefully somebody wants to pick this thing up for some streaming platform, and maybe we could sell it and then have a budget for another season where we actually had a budget instead of doing it completely out of pocket. So if Hollywood is on strike, how does this affect independent filmmakers? Maybe like yourself. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I have the answers, because I don't. This is a really new thing. The Writers Guild has been on strike for a while now, but the actors just went on their strike as of just a couple of days ago. We're going to be talking about this more in depth. I've got a podcast with my partner on the Cue the Muses project, the other guitar player, the other producer, and we have been writing the story together over this last few years. His name is Dick Burke, and we have a podcast called Cue the Muses Podcast. You can find it there. We're going to be talking about this more in depth. I want to get his ideas on it, his perception. We're just going to explore a lot of things out loud. There's some really interesting topics coming up in the discussion of what the Actors Guild is trying to get and the Writers Guild is trying to get. In particular, yes, higher wages, but there's also this whole discussion point of AI. And with AI, they want to put stipulations on how that can be used, or if it can't be used at all. There's some gray area here that I'm still trying to understand what all they want to get out of it. There's some really interesting points that we're going to talk about in the show. But more broadly, what I'd like to to point out is a big question mark for me in regards to the AI. And the reason the AI is so relevant to me is that, well, our show, the Cue the Muses show, the scripted sci-fi comedy concept is we are battling against an AI that has created a song that's robbing people, humanity, of its creativity. And so we, as a couple of musicians, develop a mind travel machine, and we go into people's minds and we collaborate with their inner muses, and we bring what we record out of that experience back. This is a song, and then we can fight harmonia with it. Okay, man, on my 3 count, engage your pedal for transport. 1, 2, 3. AI is a huge forefront. We wrote this 4 years ago. It's taken this long just to get to a point where, after recording the album and making and filming and writing the concept and getting people together and then editing and stuff, we've only got a couple of episodes out. But the AI is the forefront, and AI is one of the, I guess, 3 primary pillars that both the Writers Guild and the Actors Guild want to figure out a way to regulate, to harness. because basically, with things like ChatGPT, which I'll do another video about how I've been using that as a personal video assistant in a pretty amazing way. That's another conversation. But basically, they're wanting to make it where you can't just have that write a script. Or maybe more practically, normally you'd have a writer's room or something like that. It writes the script, and then maybe you have a human pass on it. So then it'd just be one or two people. This is going to end up being way less work opportunity, way less physical time that they could be paid for writers. And then on the actors front, there's this whole aspect of a digital scan of you that can then your likeness can continue to be used indefinitely on other projects. And apparently this is even happening on extras. Extras don't get paid much of shit. They get paid like $100, $200 a day. They're really doing this to have the opportunity to be in the environment to maybe have something happen. See how it works? Maybe some networking opportunity happens. And in that same process, apparently, I don't know if they've actually begun doing this or they're planning to do this and this is in a contract, but there's a lot of information flying around there that the intention was by many studios, they'll scan you, you're an extra, and they can take that likeness, reuse it throughout whatever the project is. But past that, they can put you in digitally in anything that they want for eternity with that digital scan that they did of you, which sounds absolutely insane. And I would be totally against something like that. But where the argument that I want to discuss is, and we're going to go into this, and I want to talk about this with Dick and Cue the Muses podcast, which you can go over to in a few days. We keep talking about AI as this singular thing, and it so is not. First of all, ChatGPT is a language learning model. This isn't actual general intelligence. We aren't there yet. This is a language learning model. It's taking everything and putting it together in an amazing way, and then kind of regurgitating a summary. It's like getting to talk to somebody that read all the articles and can give you the summary of things. Yes, sometimes it's off, but oftentimes it's not. It can be quite accurate and really, really helpful. And I'll give some examples, like I said, in a future episode. But these AI tools are slipping their way into things like Adobe. I mean, even the premier programs that people, use, these big software companies are implementing AI into it. So once it becomes part of the tool set, where is the line here where you cannot use AI for particular circumstances? For instance, much more efficient, quick help in an edit to cut out all the ums, ahs, to help you decipher and organize what might be the best takes as a starting point. Yes, this is going to take away some of the grunt work of those types of jobs, but would that be kind of nice as an independent like myself to be able to use a software like that, which does exist and I'm about to test out very soon, to cut out that large amount of work so I could spend more time focusing on the fun stuff, the stuff that the creative part of putting those things together. That's an extremely exciting thing. There's software right now like Runway that you can go to, and this can actually generate VFX for you, by basically prompting. You give it footage, you can give it samples of things that you want it to look like, you can prompt commands. I've done very little testing with this. I'm not as much of a VFX guy, but this is happening. And even I believe it was good enough in one case where the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I really want to see and have not seen it yet, and I hope I said that title correctly, because I'm a big Michelle Yeoh fan. I've just been so busy I've barely gotten to see any movies lately. They actually did one of the effect shots that made it in the final movie using the software that auto-generated this VFX shot that apparently, I think if I remember the article correctly, did something that they were having trouble doing, and then the AI helped figure that out. So once it becomes part of the tool set and we become more efficient, that'll probably increase the demand and expectation of how much work we're supposed to output. But at the same token, it's also pretty empowering, and it might unchain the artist to be able to do more of the parts of it, more of the areas where the human touch is really of highest value. That maybe you get it to do all the things that are the lugging, cumbersome, like heavy lifting of these things that eat up the most of the time. For instance, in an edit, I would say that probably 60% of an edit that I do for a client or for my own projects is just prep. And there's a lot of aspects of that preparation that I could see AI being able to help with in the very, very near future, especially as it gets honed in over X amount of iterations over a 5-year span. This stuff might become more and more efficient. And yes, it's getting consolidated where the individual can become more and more capable of producing higher and higher end productions if you're so inclined to put in the time and effort and learn those tools. So I do think that you don't want to get left in the dust and not learn the tools. But in Hollywood, if you're fighting to not be able to use AI as this broad stroke sentiment, I want to know more specifically what it is that they're trying to stop, because it seems kind of like trying to stop the wind from blowing. I mean, to stipulate that AI cannot be used for script writing, how do you possibly try to regulate that? I mean, at what point are you watching somebody 24/7 when they're coming up with an idea? What is it that would enable you to know that somebody didn't? And is it opening the door for many lawsuits to people that simply did not use AI, but then get, pinned and framed as they did use AI because something ran too similar to something? And it's weird because we as people, everything that we produce is ultimately an amalgamation of everything that we've experienced and seen. And as much as you're not a copycat, you are, your creation comes from those life experiences put forth as, this end connection point that you eventually land at that becomes an original idea. But where's the cutoff line for an AI to be considered not coming up with original content if it's just an amalgamation of everything that exists on the internet? I mean, I don't know how we as people separate ourselves from being considered that as well to a degree. However, if there's direct plagiarism, that makes total sense. If you can find that, an exact script, I mean, that makes 100% sense. But I have to think that through the evolution of AI that it's going to veer more and more away from that and become more and more original. It's scary. I thought the creative sector was the safe zone for AI. I thought we were the safe ones, and all the jobs that seemed obvious, like the truck driving and the factory work, and those are the ones, that's gonna hit. But I thought the creative sector was the human part, which is why I came up with, the idea for Cue the Muses. That was the inspiration for that. It's bottom line is the AI can't come up with something as creative as human, right? And I don't know. As my show unfolds and we get to make the episodes that we filmed over, I think we did the last day of filming over a year ago, and it's just taking this long to edit these one at a time. It does. I'm very curious to see where by the time I finish the last episode, where all this is going to be, and knowing that it's still the infancy of the, just the tip of the iceberg for where AI is starting. It's a baby, guys. It's a baby, and it's just powerful. So much to talk about. There's a lot more to discuss live with a person. I'll talk with Dick on the Cue the Muses podcast very, very soon this week. So keep your eye out for that. If you don't know about our channel, check it out. We are definitely looking for more subscribers. We're out of thin air here. Oh, by the way, every episode does feature a different singer. We use different singers on every song too. So it's a really original idea, I think. We'll see if it holds up against where the AI actually goes, how relevant the concept will be as this all unfolds. We'll see what happens. All right, guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.